Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and of course we're here today to do another video on the Quest Pro. I got my little area here with my headsets. Got the Quest 2 right here next to me. Got the Quest Pro right here on the dock, all charged and always ready to go. And then of course I got my HTC Vive Pro 2 when I want to get fully immersed in PCVR. But today we're here to talk about the Quest Pro and what it means for gaming. So a lot of people have been talking about this. Has obviously been geared towards businesses. That's how Facebook marketed it. And everyone out there keeps going, is this game actually for gamers? Is this game better for people who are playing games? So that's what I want to kind of talk about today. I want to talk about all the features that makes this a headset for people who are going to experience and only play games, on what they're actually going to get out of this headset and what's actually going to be better. And then obviously at the end of this video, I'll talk about, do all these features that I'm about to talk about really mean that this headset is worth $1,500? So first, let's talk about all the differences that are going to make this a better gaming experience for you. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, so the first thing we got to talk about is the fact that we now can have mixed reality experiences in full color. So of course on the Quest 2 you could still have mixed reality experiences, but they weren't in full color. They were just in black and white, and they didn't have anywhere near the resolution that the Quest 2 has, which is 4 times as much as the Quest 2 was. And we have this app here that I tried. This is the first app that I tried. This is called World, and it just came out. And basically you have an environment that the actual like Google Maps overlay is sitting in front of you on your floor, and you can actually have people around you and stuff. It was a really surreal experience when I went into a lobby and all the people's meta avatars were kind of in my living room. We were all talking, and the map was on the floor and stuff, which was really cool, while we were all talking and exploring and just talking about the Quest Pro and everything. And then you can also go in here and kind of look at different environments around you when you do 360 pictures at the same time, and kind of play a mini game of trying to find out where you are and helping each other by looking at different landmarks and different locations in the pictures, which is really cool. But the fact that this mixed reality experience is on the Quest Pro, I mean, you can play this on the original Quest 2, but it's not going to be anywhere near as good because you're missing color, and color is a pretty big deal when you're trying to look at these landmarks and these maps in fully scaled out 3D on your floor, which is just a surreal experience, like I said. And having the meta avatars like in color around you while you're in the same room that feel like they're in their living room with you is a really cool experience as well that you couldn't get on the Quest 2. And there's obviously a lot more to come. We even have another experience here, Demio, that was shown off that is fantastic. We all know how popular and great the Demio game is. It's a board game, a D&D dungeon crawl type of game, and you can now overlay it on your table in front of you, and I'll be playing it in mixed reality. Sure, you can do this on the Quest 2, but the game not being in color kind of takes a lot away from it, in my opinion. So the fact that we're getting these kind of experiences already, I can't wait to see what the future holds for mixed reality. But it is really cool. Even if the resolution isn't exactly as high as we want it, it's still much better than the Quest 2 and leads for some good experiences, and I can't wait to see what the future holds on it. The next thing we got to talk about that, of course, lends itself to gaming really well is, of course, the new Oculus Pro controllers. Now, granted, you can buy these separately for $300 starting in a month or so, and you'll be able to use these on your Quest 2 at some point. But it is really cool that obviously this already comes with the Quest Pro, so you're still getting these experiences, and the haptics on this thing are kind of crazy. That's the first thing I noticed when I was playing Beat Saber in games, and games aren't even specifically developed yet, but they actually have haptic motors in like the index trigger and in the thumb and in the rest, so you actually feel the haptics, and they're a lot stronger than the Quest 2 controllers are, and it feels more precise on where it's actually coming from to really feel like you're more immersed into the game. And I can't wait to see more games actually develop uses for this where they specifically target it. But just even playing Beat Saber and stuff, you can tell the haptics are a lot stronger and are really cool to use, and I can't wait to see this again further develop with more games. But they already feel much better than the Quest 2 controllers did, even with the way the games currently stand today, which is interesting in and of itself already. And then, of course, now you can actually, with these controllers, it actually has index level tracking. So if you guys remember on the index controller, it can kind of detect your finger and stuff. Well, now this one can too. With a curl of your finger, it can detect it, and all your fingers are individually tracked. It's really cool. Obviously, if you guys have used the index, you know all about that. Really cool to have it on here. And then it also has the pressure sensor as well on these controllers. So there's a little curved area on the top that actually is pressure sensitive. So if you touch it and you grip something harder, like say an egg or something, you might end up breaking it because of the amount of pressure you're putting onto the grip. So it could actually detect how much pressure you're putting down on that grip area, which is going to lend itself again when games start to use it to be a really cool feature and add more of that immersion into the game. Imagine holding an egg, and the harder you hold it, you might crack it if you hold it a certain grip, and you have to kind of let go. So really, really cool. So there's definitely some really cool features on the Oculus Quest Pro controllers that make them much better than the Quest 2 that we had before, that make games basically a lot better, and they're going to continue to get better as more developers kind of get their hands on this and make it even better. And then they also have these little tips on the bottom, which is really cool, that you can actually change out. They're little stylus tips on the bottom that you can kind of replace the lanyard. So if you want to do like a workspace or more stylus based things like drawing and stuff, there's a little stylus on the bottom that has a little pressure sensitivity that kind of makes it feel like you're writing when you're in VR, which is a pretty cool idea to add to the controllers. And it comes in the box, so, and I have tried it and it works pretty well, and it does give the sensation that you're actually writing on something. So that is also a cool touch as well. So when you add all of these features together, you get a much better experience with these Quest Pro controllers and a much better gaming experience, especially as the future keeps continuing. The next thing we got to talk about as it comes to gaming is, of course, how comfortable this headset is. Guys, I have not worn a more comfortable headset than this one. It's really easy to put on. It's really sturdy, of course. You could just put it on your head, and it has like a little dial on the back of your head that you kind of just put on and then dial it back to exactly how tight you want the headset to be. Has a nice foam insert on the front that feels really good, and then the foam insert on the back, and it just feels amazingly comfortable. I've been wearing this headset for the last couple days, and I haven't had any issues at all with any sort of comfort. I've been wearing it for hours on end, and it's definitely the most comfortable headset you could wear. It makes playing games so easily, especially because you can play it where your eyes are not actually, you don't feel any pressure on your face, because there's obviously that breathing room in between where your eyes aren't being all squished on the face like the Quest 2 is. So you feel like there's nothing on your face. I almost feel like the headset is essentially floating on your head, which is really cool. And then, of course, the lens even have the 55 to 75 IPD range, which obviously will help a lot more people get into VR. For those of you guys who are on the higher end with this, you'll be able to now use the Quest 2, or sorry, the Quest Pro over the Quest 2, because of how the IPDs have now extended, and you can actually manually move them as opposed to being just a 3-level set before. It's a lot more specific and a lot better for a lot of people's eyes now. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's just a way more comfortable headset. There's no denying that. It makes it feel like the device is floating on you. And, even though it has that opening like I talked about before, it does come with these blinders that you could put for the left and right side. And if you want to be fully enclosed, they do have an optional accessory coming later. The next thing we got to talk about here is, of course, the blacks in the headset, which obviously a lot of people loved to be able to watch movies and stuff. And this is actually big screen right here. I know it's hard to see what I'm seeing in the headset, but this is big screen that I first tried when I went in there, because I love watching movies in VR. And the blacks are obviously much improved compared to the Quest 2. Granted, they're obviously not going to be as good as the Quest 1, which use OLED, but this is using mini LED, and it is a much better experience. I didn't see the blacks when I was watching a movie in the theater with everything dark and everything, and think to myself, oh, these look all gray. They don't really look black. Like, I never got that. I think the blacks look like black should be, even though they're not as good as the Quest 1. They're much improved over the Quest 2, and I think people who play horror games and like movies are going to really appreciate this in gaming. The next thing we got to talk about, of course, is the actual lenses themselves and the FOV. So the FOV is much improved on here. It's 10 degrees wider than it is on the Quest 2, which is great and easily noticeable. As soon as you put it on, it doesn't feel like you're wearing, a pair of binoculars. It feels like you're wearing like ski goggles now, which is a wider FOV. The clarity of this is fantastic. When it comes to the screen itself, it looks really, really good. The text clarity is crazy. The colors pop more, all that stuff. So it's going to obviously lend itself to being a great experience when playing games. And it's something easily noticeable for anybody who played the Quest 2 and goes to this. And speaking of games, the next thing we got to talk about here, which I'm showing here, is Red Matter 2. So Red Matter 2 is the first game that actually dropped an update that is actually using the local dimming, which makes certain spots dim as they're supposed to be. Darks are darker, dark as supposed to be. And then it's using the internal eye detection, where it's looking at your eyes, and you actually have foveated rendering based on eye tracking where your eyes are actually looking. So that's what you guys are looking at here. When you're looking at these images through the game, if you're looking at a certain direction, it's going to sharpen that area, and it's going to have the graphics quality, really look good in that area. But when you switch your eyes to the right, the left side may be fuzzy, which you won't be able to see because you're not looking over there. And it works extremely well. You don't even notice that it's actually happening, because you can't move your eyes. At least I haven't been able to move my eyes fast enough to actually notice it. And it makes the game have 30% more pixels according to Red Matter. And they did a fantastic job. The game has 30% more pixels now. It definitely looks better than the Quest 2. If you put the Quest 2 on back to back, you'll easily notice that this is definitely a better looking game now than it was on the original Quest. So fantastic stuff. Can't wait to see what the future of that holds with other games. And then the last thing we got to talk about here, and this is one of my favorite games in PCVR to always test this, because Robo Recall, even though it came out in 2017, is such a fantastic game. But all of these features that I just talked about, bigger FOV, better screen quality, better colors, better text, better wearing it comfortably, all that stuff we just talked about is of course going to lend itself that when you play games via PC, if you're using either AirLink or virtual desktop and stuff, these games are going to look fantastic now, because the lenses that are being used in here are so much better, and the fact that you can obviously be in the headset longer because it's more comfortable. Granted, you're gonna have to get a battery pack because the headset doesn't last more than 2 hours, or at the most, or 2.5 if you're lucky. But still, overall, you're going to get a much better experience playing these PCVR games wireless than you would on the Quest 2 because of all the features we just talked about in this video. So obviously for me, as somebody who owns the Quest 2 and now has the Quest Pro, you know, the Quest 2 is going to kind of collect dust for me, because obviously why would I play the PCVR games wirelessly on the Quest 2 when I have the Quest Pro sitting here, and it's going to be a much better experience because these lenses are that much clearer, that much better to use, and make it for a much more immersive experience overall playing on the Quest Pro. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching that video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So, when it comes to the Quest Pro being a gaming headset, is it obviously a gaming headset first? Obviously, absolutely not. The main features of this thing, like facial tracking and all that kind of stuff, were obviously meant more for social VR games, and that's kind of what it was built for, and of course for businesses alike to be able to do some work in VR. And I will be having an upcoming video on what I think about working in VR and using workrooms and MRSA and all that stuff, and seeing if it's actually worth the hype that they're talking about, but that will be a different video. But speaking on the gaming today, do I think this headset is better than the Quest 2 in gaming? Absolutely. I talked about it in this video. Obviously, you could tell when I was going through the video. As somebody who has both, I'm never going to use the Quest 2 again for probably, unless if I have friends here who want to kind of, you know, one person play on one and one person play on the other, so we can play multiplayer games together, like me and my wife sometimes do. But as far as me picking the Quest 2 over the Quest Pro, of course I'm never going to do it unless if my battery dies and I don't have a battery strap yet on it. But obviously the experience is much better in almost every single way that the Quest 2 had. But just because the experience is better doesn't mean it's worth the $1,500, especially when we know the Quest 3 is right around the corner. It's coming obviously probably at the end of next year. It's already been announced that it's going to happen. So as soon as the Quest 3 announces, it's obviously going to have the next generation processor. So games are going to look better, much better than what they look like today, because they're going to have more graphic horsepower. And of course the Quest Pro is going to be still sitting on the Plus chip that we have now. So obviously we don't know what they're going to put into the Quest 2, the Quest 3. I would hope that they're going to at least use the lenses that are on here, because I think if they use the lenses that are on this Quest Pro and then they basically just stick a better chip that's going to give us more graphical horsepower so games look a lot better, I think a Quest 3 right there would sell me immediately just with those two things, because then we got better looking games coming with the screen quality of what this thing can offer with these lenses, and then all we're really left on the Quest Pro is facial tracking and eye tracking. Granted, we'll get some better games because of the foveated rendering, so you'll still have, you know, some balances there to see. The Quest Pro may still have some leeway to get close to it, but still, you guys get the idea that I'm talking about. The Quest 3 is obviously only a year away. For me, it was worth the $1,500 because I'm going to get a lot of use out of this in the next year, whether it's working in VR, whether it's playing games, watching movies, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get uses for it in a lot of variety of ways, not just in gaming, but just all of it. Watching movies and working in VR a little bit, so, and a lot of gaming on it as well. And I think the experience for me, having it a year in advance and being able to experience this now and kind of show it to you guys, it's obviously worth it for me as somebody who has this channel. But $1,500 is of course hard to swallow if you're just using this primarily for gaming and you obviously don't have that expendable income to just throw out every year. But if you're okay with upgrading every year, like some people upgrade their cell phones and stuff, granted this is a lot more expensive, but if you're okay with that fact that like you're going to get a Quest Pro and the processors are going to be obsolete in a year, and you may want the Quest 3 right after that, even though this may have some standout features over the Quest 3 when it comes out, we'll have to see. That's a decision you're going to have to make. Obviously, I made my decision to be able to cover it for you guys, and I love the experience that I'm getting, and I think it's definitely way better than the Quest 2 in a lot of ways that we talked about here today. So you guys are going to have to make that decision on your own. But hopefully this gives you guys some good information so you guys can make that decision if it's worth the money for you. If you guys have any questions about what you guys saw in today's video, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.